back to your community and your city. And this is something I feel that is going to continue to influence other men and women as they
Take the attendance, please.
Sure. Robert Brennan.
Here.
Scott Copley. Scott Guthrie,
Here.
Jim Humphrey,
Here.
Brad Mayer,
Here.
Ben Parrott is absent, Sarah Repose, Michael Stevens, I'm present, Ted Tracy here, and Ray Angel.
Oh, present.
Excellent.
Okay, so we do have a quorum. I'll go over the emergency evacuation procedure, which is we go out that door right there, which leads directly outside. Old business is further discussion regarding elections terms, party affiliation, ballots, discussion and action. And Scott Copley had asked for us to address something that Councillor LeBlanc wanted to look into, which is either increasing the amount of seats on the council or adding at-large seats. And I wanted to ask the Board of Canvassers to fill us in on if this is a difficult thing to do, a simple thing to do, whether you do one or the other. And Billy Marcotte is here, and my favorite worker in the office is here. So I don't know if there are issues to try to get this done on the local level, or whether it ties into anything into state law. Is there anything that you can share with us? How difficult would it be to put a question to the voters, and would it have to wait until the next redistricting, which would be 9.5 years from now, or whether the town can do it at the local level? And the cost, and all we're trying to do is figure this out, and share that information with the committee and the counselor that would like to see if we can do it.
Okay, at large, I didn't realize that, but that was brought up to me today. Again, that would be at a state level, but I checked with the Board of Board of Elections today. And they said it would be what the state law. And he couldn't quote me the state law. He said that was above his pay. He said, you go to the solicitor for that to see what the law, after, how many years after a redistricting, because we just did it now. So would they allow it, or however they work it? But maybe if you're doing it at large, that might be a different story, because how does at large run?
That would be decided, I guess, by testimony from anybody that wants to promote it one way or the other. Whether, if you had 2 at-large seats, whether they are elected across the entire scope of the town or half of the town, and having the western end have that vote and the east end having the other vote. I just want to have more participation and more representation. So, I think you mentioned something about cost.
This last one that cost the town $10,000 for election data services. They are hired by the state to do the representative and senator lines. So we piggyback off of that. And it was a cost of $10,000 for them to do the Coventry lines. And then you have to send out postcards to all of those, every voter in the town, because little changes were made, but so everybody's on the same page.
Which costs
And
more
that-
than the redistricting for the cards.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's 15,000.
that was 15,000.
So
Wow.
you're talking like a $25,000 cost
That's what
least.
we did,
That's-
yes.
just from the get-go. Okay, so
The 15,000 is across town, across just,
That's for all voters in the town of Coventry.
So everyone's gonna get a card that says, here's an update of your information. You're in Senate District X, House District Y, and Town Council
Yes.
District Z.
And you will be getting them this year.
Okay,
I'm sorry, what's your name? I don't know. you.
Lori Anderson,
Lori Anderson.
yes.
Lori's.
I know you all know her, but I don't.
Lori's the clerk of the
Okay,
Board of Canvassers.
okay, great.
She's the
Thank you.
boss.
No.
He's really the boss.
Okay.
He's the chairman.
Okay.
Well, she works with the Davies.
Okay, thanks.
So what we're trying to do as a commission is to figure out, if this can be done and you can give more representation to the voters by going with a 7 town council members, how, we can present it to the voters. Or does it have to wait until the next redistricting by, the state? I'm not sure if that's the case, because there are things in the charter that say that you can do things, but what it says right now is that after every
Decennial.
every decennial census, that is, when they do the census. What we need to do is find out whether we can do it as a community to, add that extra representation, open the door for more people to run for, running for office, smaller districts, a little bit less work, but most importantly, more representation. So I'm glad you guys came.
Do you think you should check into your options, which one you could get passed through? If you got a redistrict, or if you put them at large, do you have to do any redistricting? Doesn't at large mean that they would be
It could be at large across the entire town
town
or
or
by population. split that.
Right.
I was just gonna ask this question. If hypothetically, this had been approved in the past, but it was gonna piggyback the regular reapportionment. Do you think it would have cost extra to say in this time period, we're gonna go from 5 to 7, or would it be about the same cost?
I don't know. That would
Okay.
be election data services. They're the ones that set their price. And I don't know if 5 to 7 districts would make a difference.
Okay.
That I wouldn't be able to answer you.
But it sounds like if we were gonna try to do this, like, let's say we approved it and then it was like the next go around.
If it had been done and it.
Like if it was
would've been-
piggybacking what you were already doing, probably would be,
Yes.
I would
it
think,
would've
more
been-
minimal
Easier.
cost, whereas
Yes,
I just heard if we have to do this at an unplanned time, it's $15,000 just to mail everybody stuff, let alone
Yes.
what it costs to actually do the work.
yes.
That's a good number to have too, that 15,000.
Just for the postage.
Just to,
Oh, yeah.
just to mail it.
So
That's a-
around
that's a po-
25.
And
that's a-
who knows if the postage goes up, what it will be.
And that's a
exactly.
postcard,
That's-
not a one
And
envelope.
that's based on, I did 2
Mhm.
different companies to do the printing of the postcard and the mailing and all. And that's the lower one. The other one wanted more, like $2,000 more. So
Interesting.
just, so depending on who you have do it.
So,
As far as the vote goes on that though, when we have a vote, we don't say what goes on the ballot. That's determined by the solicitor. So they make up the ballot. So we make it able to happen. We don't tell you how it's going to, we don't tell you what's going to be in the ballot. That's determined by the solicitor. So anything that goes on the ballot, we don't just make it up and put it.
oh, no, I understand. I'm talking about charter questions.
Facilitate it. Yeah,
Yes.
right.
So charter questions aren't put on by the solicitor, they are, what we want to do is, we want our question
Okay,
to be written a certain way, and we want the council to present it that way, to make it a little more simple.
yeah, so the council would have to do that.
Exactly,
Yes.
so that's, that's their deal. The things that we've run into for charter votes particularly is that there's an undervote, because a few times when they were putting the questions out, they were written in legislative form and took up the entire
I know.
back of a ballot,
Yep. I
and then
know.
you had to have another
Page 2.
ballot
Yeah.
printed. So we're trying to simplify things.
Yep.
But more importantly, I think we need to figure out what the difference is between what we can do, what you can do, and what the state
Requires us to do.
So I'm Ray Angel, by the way, I'm the legal counsel for this committee. Did they happen to give you any hint of a direction of where the state law is that they were referencing?
No, we didn't.
Not a hint.
I can check back
So,
And
well,
see.
we can have Ray look it up too.
Alright.
I can use, people that I know, in the state house, but I'm just curious to see if we can do this without having to have to wait,
Right.
9.5 more years.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
it would seem that you should be able to do it because it's done by population. I know some of the districts have sections like A, B, C, D, some have only A, B, C or 1, 2, 3. And
That's based on our polling places.
Right.
The state goes by their precinct, but then we do that 1A, 2B and all that to determine our polling place.
Yeah.
So that has to go along with your representative and your senates, make sure they all match.
Right, and that was,
That's the other
and
thing.
that's the 205 that you talked about, right, in the charter?
Yes, so I do have a question, if you don't mind me asking. It says in the charter that there has to be 5 districts, which I'm sure you guys already know this. If the charter was amended to say that there's going to be 7 districts, 7 compact and contiguous districts of as nearly equal population as possible. Would that then create 7 districts? I'm not talking about that large stuff. I'm just talking about 7 council people.
I can't answer that truthfully. No, I can't answer it truthfully. I.
You
can't-
guys set the 5 districts because that's what it says you're supposed to do, I'm assuming.
Right, that was all done prior to,
Right. Yeah, a long time ago.
for years, yes.
So those lines change a little bit. And that goes by population.
Right.
So that's what we've just finished now, with the redistricting, was making sure that they're equal parts.
Yep.
But then, so that was the first part of it. The second part of that was, then we had to pick, last week, we picked all our polling places, and that goes by how many people there are
Right.
in each section, so.
You can't go over 3,000, 3,500.
I looked at it today in the state law,
Did they,
so,
but it's not
it's-
passed yet.
well, it's tough to read law sometimes, I'm not a lawyer, so
Mm,
I'm
That's
gonna
right.
Yes.
have Ray do that for us.
Yes, but that's what they're shooting for. Polling place of 30, a couple of them we picked were close to it,
Yeah,
3,200.
In our discussion, Scott brought up these 2 ideas of either at-large or 7 independent districts. And what we got out of it, and I think that we agreed that it would be a daunting task to run for a at-large seat
You think so?
in the town,
I,
because it would be bigger than any
Would be bigger than
representative
Senate
or
district.
Senate district. So
right,
how do you do it across the entire town, or do you split it by population and get that second vote for the people in District 1 that I think that they really want? And then he was the first one to admit that it would be hard to do. So we're trying to follow up on
okay,
the other part that he said about going with 7 council districts. So you would have 7 council people, and we haven't even talked or gotten close to see if we need to put 7 on the school committee to match it.
Oh, boy.
oh, that's another, yes.
Yeah,
Like, if you got,
That was my thought.
Yeah, because
It would be
that-
weird to have 5 on there and 2 different numbers, it would be different districts.
And then they have to reapportion both of them, which would be,
And they have to align with the state.
yeah, but if you do 7 and 7,
I mean, there you only, you
Yeah,
have
then it
one
would
map
work
for
out.
the town.
it
but-
would work.
Or if we did
You, I
5,
don't think you could do 7 and 5.
Not the way the charter is written now, because it references the school committee section 4.01 as well as the town council 3.01, so.
Because they
It's a-
would
it's a
be,
bargain deal.
their section of the 5 council on the school committee, but then you've got 7, so are you merging polling places and districts?
Yeah, it might
Yeah,
be-
I think whatever we
would be-
decide we want to, if we want to do anything with the town council, we have to mirror it on the school side.
Yeah, it'll get too messy.
unless, what if we did 5 as is, but then 2 at large and the town split in half?
And will it only be for the council?
Yeah, well, the districts could stay the same. We'd have 2 at large positions, one for eastern half, western half.
You'd have 2 for your council and 2 for the school committee.
You could omit the school committee.
Yeah, you
Keep
could
it
omit
five.
Oh, if it's
Like,
at
we're not-
five.
if we're not-
We'd still have 5
Yeah.
districts, but we'd have 7 members, 1 from each district and 2 at large.
Two at large.
But trying to get a candidate to canvass the entire town is like,
Be half the town.
What do you-
Or even
Well,
half,
yeah.
even half the town.
Canvas,
Yeah.
Even half the town.
You know they want.
One of those
Check
candidates
with
would
some
have
of
to
the
do
other
most of the
towns
town.
and see how
When
they
you look at
do
the
the ones that
population.
do it at large.
You know,
The ones I know-
Essentially, you'd be taking one of the other districts and pulling it into District 1.
correct.
Yeah.
Okay, and splitting that up, and so you've got one person that has 3 concise districts. And then somebody that has a whole western part of the state's all 2/3 of it.
Right.
You know.
I almost feel if you're going with 2 and you're trying to split it, one of the districts has to be split. I mean, I know we try to get them as close as possible. I know it's not a perfect science, but it's like if you took just District 1, I'll just pick the first 2, if you took the population of District 1 and 2 and then a population of 3, 4, and 5, I'm guessing even at that, they're significantly different. And it's like, at some point, if you listed them all and magically 2 districts equal the population of the other 3, awesome, but I don't see that happening, and I don't see it happening consistently, so you almost have to split.
Well, if you look at school age populations for the different schools,
Mhm.
it just about works out that way. If you took, say, District 2, merged it
Right.
with District 1, for school populations, that gives you somewhere around 700 students, which is about the equivalent
Of the other 3, yeah. I don't know the number, I just,
Sounds
Wow.
complicated.
Yeah, very complicated. Sometimes I guess they set things in charters to last a long time and we're trying to make it easier for people to run, to have better representation, and it just gets more difficult, but
And at this point, if we would go that way, if we could go that way, that would require you people to go back and redo all the districts and do another mailing, correct?
Yes. Yes, you would have
So
to.
there's another 1,500 or 15,000 million minimum. Plus-
and 25, because
25K
someone has to
minimum.
come in and actually,
Yeah,
do
you
it.
you have to hire
you have to hire the
Right,
state
so
No.
or who is it?
election
It's a
data
contract.
Okay.
services, and they're out of Virginia.
Okay,
They're a company that does this for all states in the country,
okay,
so.
but you would still need to get them back here today. Okay, say, yeah,
And see,
well,
they-
remember
they-
last year when we did it for 5, well, now do it for 7, go.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the gentlemen I work closely with, like he's leaving town in June, he's moving, he had moved here for a year or 2.
Mhm.
And once Rhode Island's done, he's moving to
The next-
Tennessee, so you gotta get him out of there too,
Right,
And see, you
Interesting.
might have to pay his cost to fly home, fly here.
Yep.
So that could all be taken into consideration.
So it sounds very much like this would be something to do around the time of the next census.
right.
As
That's,
long as you
And
do
we've
it
been-
after 3 years, I'm fine.
Oh, how long are you left in? How long are you staying in?
To go January of 2025. I'll do 2 more election seasons.
We have 1 more presidential.
Yes.
so we have, this is complex, and I'll have Ray look at, and try to gather some information from the state, whether it's going to be difficult or easy. Just to let both Scott and Councilor LeBlanc know that it's either difficult or easy. So any more input on that?
I'm sorry.
I mean, I'm just thinking out loud. Yeah, I think what we're finding out is with you guys here is the level of effort, the complexity of doing it. And I took a lot of notes too. But we always have to go back with, what's the intent here? What's the value add? More representation, more opportunity to be part of the council, I guess. And we know the flip side of that has been difficult to get candidates, at least in these times right now. So, there's our there's the value statement, but then there's the actual effort and organization and work that has to be done by consultants and redistricting and all the things that go with that. So,
And you wouldn't have to do it have everything completed within the 2023 election, yeah. Because when it hits 24, it's gonna be very little time limited for me to help get anything done, like your postcards and all. Because once I
Because then we
start,
The election season.
it starts in March with the presidential primary and then goes into our own
I see what you mean. Yeah. The
candidates
Windows
declare.
2023, 2024. It's gonna be,
24 is gonna.
it'll be crazy.
You're already booked.
It'll be crazy, yeah.
Yes, so
But
you've got 23 to do it in.
But it would also hinge on whether the voting public would like to do that. So, you know, they would get a question in November.
Right.
If they approve it, we go from there. If they don't, it doesn't move. If the council doesn't put it on the ballot, it doesn't move.
Right,
So,
right, so it's.
so
all
we're just
within-
trying to,
yeah.
we're just trying to get all of the information that we can get to satisfy, you know, what people want to do or what they think are good ideas to make government work better for everybody else. That's probably the best way to put it. So we'll check into the state, Ray, and
Yeah.
see.
I mean, as I read this, I don't know that it can be done until the next census.
The way it's written in the
The way it's
chart,
written right now, yeah.
but there's no restriction of amending the charter. So,
No, you'd have to take out the after each decennial census
Right.
part, because we've already done that, and it's gonna be done again, you know, not for 10 years,
Right.
so
Right,
I don't really wanna kick the can down. You either wanna do it, I guess, or don't.
right.
It's ultimately your
Yeah,
decision.
I mean, it's one of those things, you could put the question and say, after the next census, which unfortunately is not for now 8.5 years, but
But
you know,
you're
but if you put a thing that's basically part of the amendment says immediately, you know, you can put in a clause that temporarily supersedes it and then, right?
Yeah, you could draft something like that, or you could just take out that census thing
Yeah.
altogether and say upon the call of the town council, you know, they can have you do this based on what you believe the numbers are
Yeah.
at that point. I mean, there are ways of drafting. around
Right,
it, yeah.
it can be done, it's just a matter of how.
And that whole section is all original language, right?
As far as I know, it says
There would
it
no,
was amended 11/2/2010, but I don't think it was that part.
okay. I think that was the non-positive thing that was amended and the terms that was amended at the same time. So,
And you would also have to amend section 3.01,
Right,
change
right.
it to 7.
There's a lot of places that we would need to go through to make sure whatever we're drafting is updated to go along with it.
I'm just trying to find out, you know, the complexity of doing it, the cost of doing it. And sharing that information with the council and the council person that wanted to take a look at it. So we'll see how that goes, Jim.
And you with Lori and Bill here, it's interesting, so polling places, say there's 7 councilors, it's been approved. Are there 7 polling places? Can one polling place do 2 districts maybe? Because I know Manpower doing that is a lot. I mean,
the state frowns against putting 2 polling places in the same,
okay,
but.
And we have
we've had-
subdivisions of each council district, correct? It's like A, B, C, D, which are different polling places.
Yes,
so more than likely you're adding 2
So
polling
it-
places, you're adding manpower and all the equipment that goes with it.
Well, if we redistricted, some of those polling places might fall within the,
They could, it
Redistrict
may or may
lines.
not,
It
depending on
might.
how it.
right.
They might combine, so.
Do you have any idea how many polling places are in town?
I thought it was like 20.
18.
We're coming down to
17.
17.
We're cutting down to 17, but then the 18. are-
Interesting.
Used to be 23.
Yeah.
Oh, really? How
Yes,
far?
But for other things, just again, I know it's on our agenda, other things that we're looking at. Right now, for our all-day referendum, we have to have 1 polling place in each district. If we had 7 districts, we need 2 more polling places for that.
So you're looking at cost again.
And a daunting process. It's, well, it was 2 months to do the redistricting.
Oh, yes, after and I wrote them today because there's a deadline for April 15th. This Secretary of State wanted But I called my contact Ryan today and he said, no, he'll have it to me that I can, you know, have the maps and that. So they do a lot for you.
So
Okay.
we'll have Ray check with state law.
Great, thanks.
Um,
Can I just ask one
Yes,
more
Ted.
quick question, unrelated to the districts? We're talking about how we want the language of the questions, hopefully, that are going to the people to vote on. And in the past couple elections, they've printed the entire like full text in legalese with strike throughs and all that, which takes up a lot of space. In fact, I think 2018, we had one question that took up an entire page. I just want to ask this very simple question. If basically we are doing it and it runs so long that we have to get another ballot, you know, people get 2 ballots, that costs us money, right?
No,
No? Okay,
no, because the state,
state principle.
okay. That's why I'm curious if if we had,
if
you
you
know,
were to have a special, no, it's only, the only time we get charged is for all-day referendums.
Okay.
Other than that, if it's a Title 17, which you will be doing, Title 17 is state
Okay.
elections, which that's when you would put it on your ballot and
Right.
do it and everything. So no, the ballots.
okay, so even if we end up with the, because usually it's like, you know, your elections are on the front, flip it over, you have the state questions, and then you start the local questions, like if we need another page,
And then
that's,
what does the voter do? They don't,
well, that's another thing that we're considering is we want them to read the questions and answer them, but if, you know, you make it too long, people get bored
that
and
would
want to get,
probably be his call on how the wording goes.
right,
We want to simplify the wording and
Yes.
ask the question. And we've weighed, you know, how to do it. In the most recent past, it's been put out as, written as like a legislative type thing with the strike throughs and the underlines. But that is where all the wording comes from. We want to have a simple question. And then maybe a summary. And we need to find out if that's okay through the Board of Elections. So it's not an easy process.
Yeah. And you know, you only have until August. Middle of August.
When primary ballots are printed.
No, when you have to have the questions into the state, Secretary of State.
yeah, they have to be in
That
by
are going in
August.
for November. There is a date in August. I don't have it off the top of my head.
We'll be done with that and all of that will
Oh, okay.
be put
I
together.
just wanted to
So,
know that.
but the first ballots are printed before the primary. So, you know, we'll be on the second ballot.
Yeah,
So,
no, but like I said, they do require the Secretary of State.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
I'm glad we asked him some more questions while you're here, so we'll take advantage. We'll be proposing language for the ballot question, I assume. Then the solicitor will review that, and the town council obviously has to approve
our
something.
solicitor will approve it and look at it before their solicitor does.
Okay. Double solicitor review. Okay, but they may make the determination, you need to show more detail. That could happen.
Then they can have that conversation.
Okay.
all done with us?
Anything further? Any questions, you know, for the board of
I had
candidates?
one minor question, piggybacking off of Ted's question about ballot costs. Does the state also pick up the cost of ballots for special elections when there's an unexpected vacancy? Or does the town have to pay for
No.
that?
The state,
The state pays for
the
it?
only time they get charged is
For
when they
the
do the
referendum?
all-day
Okay.
referendum.
All right.
Just like we're having that District 1
Yeah,
special counsel, no, there's no charge to the
Okay.
town.
okay.
Has voting started for that yet?
Yes, today.
When does it end?
Emergency voting started today up until May 2nd. And then May 3rd is the day of the election,
Okay,
so. No, I haven't posted that District 1, anyone that would like to can come
Okay,
in and
good.
vote.
perfect. Any more questions for the board of candidates?
No, great, thank you.
And any information that we find, we'll share with you.
Yes, that
As
would
it
be
comes
great.
down to this, because, you know, the more you know, the better off you are.
Exactly, exactly.
So thank you.
I don't know, I can give him a call, but You know, I mean, I would
I
hope
know
Miguel
it's
would,
above the base scale, but maybe not votes.
right, so I will check tomorrow again, so if I can have any information.
You can't ask the same
Any
questions.
hints are greatly appreciated.
Yes. Okay,
Yeah,
Just a chapter or something like that.
right.
Kind of. Is there a specific chapter in state law about elections?
Oh, yes,
17.
Title 17.
Title 17,
Title 17 is all the.
could be anywhere, yeah, huh?
in any event, thank you both for taking your time to come here
No
tonight.
problem.
You're welcome to stay.
Oh, no, I've been here since 8:30 this morning. We had a union meeting and then
Oh,
I
okay.
went to Billy and I want to go home and have supper. But thank you very much and anytime.
Yep, thank you both
Thank
again.
you.
Thank you.
Yes.
And
Thank
if
you.
we find any information out, we'll be sure to share it with you.
I will,
Thank you very
yes.
Take care.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
you know, it's looking like it might be a little difficult
Oh,
for
yeah.
Jamie's thing, but we're gonna follow through and get as much information as we can. Just to get back to him, you know. I think sometimes that they, I don't know, the original way of doing things always lasts longer than the changes that you make to it, so. So they must be put in for a reason like that.
And again, at the end of the day, if the value is there, we want to see if the
Right.
public wants it, we put it out there as a question.
Exactly. 1520 amendment of charter. Any more input on that? I think that we were talking of, you know, the long language is gone. What we want is a simple question and a summary. Is that what you called it, Ted? A
Short.
question and a summary.
Short question that gets the core of what we're asking, and then an explanation as why. So
So that's the number one thing on that. And
Interesting, on the actual charter amendments on the ballots as proposed. Trying to recall if there's ever been a dollar amount put on there, like if you vote for this, this is what it will cost. I don't know, is that?
I don't know if anything stops you from doing that, whether there's a cost savings or a cost that is associated with it.
Yeah. Just thinking out loud, I don't know, does it make sense if something is extremely expensive, it's gonna either cost a lot of money or it's gonna save money?
Right.
Is that valuable information to include
Right.
with the question? It
So
could
it
also,
could go into, it might be something to include in the, you know, explanation or something.
Yeah.
Because like
As a
my
cost
proposal
saving
with
measure.
the terms and filling vacancies, it's like, you know, special elections call, what did we say, $6,000
Yeah.
for a special election?
something around that.
Like, you know, something like, and like, for mine, it's like, you get limits lack of representation either on town council or school committee, saves town potentially $6,000 in holding a special election, you know, all reasons, basically put the pro list on it.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's anything that
Could probably
prohibits.
attach it with what Ted wants to do with having an appointment.
Sure.
You know, to fill us, you know, to fill a seat until the next.
Till either an election is held or the term expires.
Right. So,
Which would be within 1 year at a maximum.
and you can add that into the language that you want to do, that it is a cost saving measure, there's no doubt. So,
But if we do something on the contrary that costs money, and let's say it's the redistricting and the, you know, some of the postcards and we're at 25, 30, 50,000 or so. That money's also not budgeted for at that point either, at that point in time.
Right.
So now we could get something passed, but then it's not budgeted for.
correct.
So I don't know, just thinking out loud. does it
Devil's
make sense?
advocate.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
does
I
it make sense
disagree
to
with
include the financial cost or savings
Yeah,
in
it's,
And a
consideration?
lot of that would depend on whether or not you're able to get this information out to people ahead of time
Yeah.
to go over it, because you could give the details of it, you know, in that.
that's the other
15
question that I don't,
$15,000
that's the question I
mailing.
don't have an answer to, is if we're putting summary questions, where are we showing the full text is available? And how are we?
Yeah.
You know, like if we were to send out, let's say, a mail, okay, that here's what the ballot's gonna look like. We got 5, 6, whatever, short questions. But here's where the full text is. We're mailing it to everybody so you can read it ahead of time. You can read why we can go into great details on an explanation and whatnot. Like if we're doing that, can we do that? And then what does it cost?
At least,
$15,000 to mail postcards. So let's start with that.
I mean, let's say the postcard had a QR code that took them to the website and everything was digitally. It's at least 15,000.
Yeah.
Maybe
At
more.
least
At
15,000. And that's again,
Yeah.
for postcards.
For postcard,
We're talking pamphlets.
yeah. Yes, we could be double, triple.
We could be at least double that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Ideas without necessarily answers.
But you could definitely put the
Questions?
current language.
Right, that's it.
Proposed
Here's what we
language.
have, here's what we're proposing, here's why we're proposing, here's all the reasons for, even put against, if you want to be, as open as possible, but,
And on the ballot question, if you wanted to include whether or not it was a cost savings or an expense, you could include that just as a simple statement. This would be an additional expense to the town,
or cost savings to
or
the
this would be a
potential cost savings.
potential, or potential expense.
Yep.
And just have it one way or the other.
The correct word was, we're talking about the expense of adding text.
Of, no, I think that was the expense of what the change would do. So like
Right.
eliminate or at least reduce the number of special elections would be a cost savings, whereas adding 2 districts would have a significant cost that we're hearing to
Okay.
do it. So,
And it's the immediate cost of redistricting, and
Right.
then it's the ongoing cost of
Yeah.
additional polling places if needed.
Yeah.
You know,
because it just like if we wanted to go from 5 to 7, I'm hearing it's going to cost us at least 25,000 upfront.
Yep.
And then perpetually, we have these other costs that are going to repeat.
oh, that's gonna be a pro-con thing that we're gonna send to Jamie, isn't it?
sure.
I think that's exactly what needs to be
Yeah.
done on it. This is the good stuff. This is the bad stuff.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of both. We won't be a lopsided one on this.
Financial,
No, we can stay at 15-20 for a second. And 15,
go for it.
because I know there's a lot of, I think there's like 3 things we have in here, correct me if I'm wrong. The idea of keeping our ballot questions from the commission on the
On the
ballot,
ballot.
Yep.
1. 2, who can be on the charter commission.
That's right.
Mhm.
And then 3, I think until we were touching on it, how we can write up how we summarize the ballot questions, which I'm just looking at the last paragraph, kind of lets you do that.
Yeah, it says you don't have to have the
Yeah.
entire
Not be
text.
necessary.
So we can do that.
So we can do that.
But we were looking at getting rid of the restrictions on who could serve on it, right?
We're
Right.
looking to get rid of some of the,
I think there's some middle road there. We were trying to draw a line.
because we don't want to just say you're a town employee, you're out as a blanket statement, but I think want to say you're a department chair, you're an elected official of the town versus maybe say one of the fire district or something that's not direct, like it's indirectly to the town, or, department chair, like the chief of police or the, head of the board of care, maybe the top level people we don't want, but just because you're in the district as an employee shouldn't prohibit you.
But it seems like those are 2 things. Who can be on the charter committee, and the idea, I know you're a huge proponent of the idea that we could at least see if town council would approve it. And we might, those are 2 things we could probably write up
Those,
pretty easily, right? I'm just saying,
Yep.
we could do those. I mean, who would want to do it? But those are 2 easy ones to at least take a stab at. And I think maybe we just here, we just kind of look at it and kind of beat it up a little bit.
My thoughts on that is some of the changes that were put in made it harder for anyone to be on the commission.
They also put in the maximum of 2 terms.
Well, Bob was not a big person on limiting people to terms,
That's right.
Why would you want to keep someone from serving on it? Look at how we got started. We had 7 people.
It took us, 5 months to get 9 people?
Okay.
Does that sound like a fair enough? Because I think they first said.
I'm not sure if it was that long, but
I'm just going by, I think they announced that they were forming the committee and seeking applications. I want to say it was August, because I vaguely remember dropping off my application, going to an August meeting.
It was August because I was on vacation
Okay,
when I put mine in.
Yeah.
Through email.
so it seems.
and
to
we got
me
9
that-
in January,
January.
so.
It seems to me that part that was added in there was to keep people from serving on the commission and to make it harder to serve on the commission.
So let me ask this group, how do we feel about maybe at least not consecutively?
That's in there too, I think.
That's in there.
Do we have
That's in
that?
there
Okay.
currently.
It's already
That's
in
in
there.
there?
Yeah, you
Okay.
can't serve two concurrent.
Because I think
charter
that
is.
especially, let's just say we follow the minimum requirements as it is. They have to be a commission every 5 years. Okay, so we have a commission, and then immediately the next one, it's like, well, hold on. Like, I think that's a good one to have a new turnover. After that, if it's 10 years out, I think by that point, we've gone through 2 at a minimum. If you have more,
I mean, they can be called anytime, but if they are every 5 years, I think you're gonna have normal attrition. I mean,
right?
somebody's waiting 5 more years, I can't wait to do it again.
So if you were appointed to the commission
I would
and
think,
you had an idea that had traction,
Mhm.
you're gonna stop yourself from being on the next commission to get further ed.
I don't know,
It's.
yeah, it's,
Yeah, well, now we start to talk about whether or not it should be a permanent commission.
You brought that up before, making a permanent commission. And how that commission is put in place.
So now you're talking about, sequential appointments, things along those lines.
reappointments, all that.
Reappointments, that would solve some of the problem.
Yep.
If you didn't have enough, you could reappoint somebody.
Right.
Um,
I will say
You have the
this,
continuity of the whole process. We've got stuff.
Right,
here
basically,
that's
you're a
maybe
standing
10
committee.
years. Yeah,
For when we need to review probably a more specific thing versus form a committee and review everything, if you will.
that's interesting. I mean, having a deadline is a good thing. That's one thing I like about this commission. You have to finish this
Mhm.
at a certain point in time, which is a good thing. So,
6 months.
but by definition, your commission is really that long. To have it standing, then it's waiting around for the next go around. I guess you could continue to meet, I guess, for the next election. But what was I thinking? I had another thought for that. What is
Like
it?
me.
Here's my thought. Having digested this and gotten really familiar with this, these are some pretty significant rules of the road for our town government that waiting every 5 years, I can't imagine they're going to hold, unless they're not, as I've discovered, they're not future proofed. Things change. I mean, but it's written in there, you can call a charter commission when
But you
you
don't
want
have
to.
to.
You don't have to, and the town council can clearly do this without
Without
a
us.
commission,
Yep.
as we've all learned. So it's interesting, we talk about representation, having citizens around the table like we're doing, discussing this is a good thing. Just leaving it to the town council just to change it as they need to, because catastrophic or other things occurred. You kind of lose that other input. Something we need to talk about some more, for sure.
Mhm.
As I'm thinking,
Yeah.
as I'm listening to you
More
guys,
in-
Oh, yeah.
you have the wheels
Yep.
turning.
well, the other thing that comes along, it was brought up as to whether or not perhaps we should put a question, should there be a full charter rewrite?
We already can do that. We can write the entire charter all
Not in 6
over
months, we
again.
can.
But we have the authority.
That
to
is
do
right.
Yeah, we have the authority to just basically put a new charter to ask the question.
Right, we have the authority to send it to the council.
Actually, you're right. We have the
Approval.
authority the town has the authority.
Right, but to do that and to do that properly,
That takes more than 6 months, because it's one
We're
thing to
not
say we
supposed
catch
be a
these
body-
small
We're not
things.
supposed to be a body politic. We're supposed to send something to the people.
Mhm.
The politics begins when it goes into that room over there.
So
So,
the question coming up for us on something like that would be, should a full review of the charter take place with the idea of modernizing it and updating it?
as a question on.
As
this
one
next charter,
question,
One
as
ballot.
versus, let's say we're picking a half dozen questions to
Yeah.
send up the chain, if you will. But we've identified small, we have small things here, we have outdated things here, we have like, all this stuff is at one point. What are we, 50 years into this charter? At some point, you just, I think, need to pause and get everything up to date at least.
Yeah.
Like, it's like the parts that we're discussing are the big points. But
There are plenty of.
at some
small
point, there are a lot of small points that we're, hey, we really haven't, maybe we haven't looked at or whatnot, but
And maybe it should be a charter commission appointed specifically to do that
to basically modernize
for an
it.
extended period of time. Which I think is the town council could do by ordinance, couldn't they?
They could create their own,
Yes.
yeah,
Because
they
it
could
sets
basically
minimums
pass an
for
ordinance
it.
to create a,
You know,
special charter. review
Yeah,
commission.
and, and the question would come out of this.
Yep.
You mean a
go to the-
comprehensive?
There you go. I just needed, yeah.
Roger, where's Roger?
Any more on 1520?
The only thing I'll weigh in on that, as far as writing that, something like that, I think with all the things that you have all been discussing and will discuss, the summary part of that is pretty simple to write. Because there's so many justifications to do it based on what it is that you're all looking at and finding out. I mean, there's a laundry list of reasons why you could justify having that kind of a body
Mhm.
to do a comprehensive review, I think.
Well, I was 14 when the first one passed, so. You won't be able to tell how old I am now.
I saw a Model T in Route 3. I
Yeah.
was thinking about you.
So we'll continue with that, and we're missing
Good
three,
conversation. Yeah.
we're missing 3 members tonight. So let's go to 6 on the agenda, section 2.
Oh, we still got, we got
Okay.
financials.
5.3. Yeah, we do it. There's a lot of
We got some
input
stuff on
here.
that.
All right, I'm sorry. I
That's
thought that
okay.
we were just
It's
into that.
one of our favorite topics.
That's,
Oh, that's
yeah.
right. That's right. And I'm sorry.
Okay.
You and a subcommittee have been working
Right.
to put something together. And I think it's going to mirror South Kingstown, and it's pretty close to what the town council president proposed in the last.
It's very similar to what President Dixon was proposing in 2020. I believe she was using North Kingstown more as a mayor than South Kingstown, but a lot of the same concepts. So, Jim, you have the.
So, we've given this a lot of thought. There's more work to be done, but we would like to make a motion. If I may.
Well, you can make a motion.
Do we have enough people here to do that, to vote on something?
I have asked for everybody to be here. And everybody to vote. Are you making a motion to send something to, like Bob's idea as a update to the council? Is that what your motion is going to be?
No, the motion is going to be fairly specific, but noting that we're going to need to work out the details, in essence.
What the subcommittee discussed is we're basically putting forward the core idea of what we want the final proposal to be. And we want to make sure that the committee as a whole agrees with where we're going before we go any further. That'd be a good way of putting it.
Yeah, it's there was some consensus around the table last time we met. So we have a formal motion and vote on it today. There's more detail with regards to the budget process that will need to be done, but it will allows us to move forward. There would not be anything we'd be.
We're not voting on any final text.
Would not be final.
Go ahead with your motion.
Okay. It's long, so I'm going to hand it out to everybody. They can read along with me. I thought it would be a
I
good
knew it
idea.
was going to be long. and
You
complex.
know me. I was a political science major. So I filled up blue books when I was a student. We worked together on this. I really appreciate all the guys chipping in and
This
with
is
their
what I
ideas
got
and
today
thoughts.
as an email, right?
Yep.
Yes, I think this was. No, I said something else. Okay. I move that we amend the current budget process in Coventry's Home Rule Charter, Article 7, Sections 8.16 and 8.18, to improve public input to the budget decision process, restore the public's ability to modify the town budget, and eliminate the fiscal uncertainty in the current process as follows. 1, at a line item level, electors petition process prior to the town council's completion of a provisional budget. Petitions that can add or change draft provisional municipal or capital budget line items will require 15 electors' signatures verified by the Board of Canvassers. School committee budget petitions can only be made at the total budget level only. These petitions will be taken into consideration by the town council prior to adopting a provisional budget that is subsequently sent to the Rhode Island Division of Municipal Finance. 2, at a referendum petition process after the town council approves a final budget. Referendum petitions can add or change the municipal, capital, or school budget totals by adding or subtracting a minimum of $250,000 or 0.02%, whichever is larger of the total approved budget. Successful petitions will require 200 elector signatures verified by the Board of Canvassers. Verified petitions will in turn trigger both a financial town meeting to present all verified referendum petitions and have a subsequent referendum vote. The current referendum process will be replaced by this referendum petition process, whereby electors can vote for the approved town council budget or one referendum petition that would adjust the final budget. All petitions must follow Rhode Island state law. Town council presentation details and exact verbiage of the aforementioned charter sections will be done by the budget process subcommittee of this charter review commission. These details will be presented for a final vote by the full charter review commission to move forward to the town council for approval.
Motion is made. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. I like that it both includes the financial town meeting and a referendum. And it keeps voters involved and part of the budget process. Apprehensive because I promised all of you that we would vote on everything. But this isn't exactly what we're going to send to the council. This is part of our
Internal workings.
internal workings and communications with them, so to speak.
Right, yeah, it's not moving out of the commission. We have more work to do.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so I broke my own promise to everybody else on the commission, but it's time for us to get moving. And I know that Bob is big on it, and I'm one of the old people from politics that understands that things take a long time to get done, and it's done for a reason that way. But we can send something to the council that says we're working on it. We're very close to what you were trying to do a couple of years ago. Any recommendations, send them back to us so
Yeah.
we can
Yep.
complete this
Yep.
Mhm.
and we can get this to the voters. So thank you.
Welcome.
You surprised me.
No problem. That's how we all worked on this
Right.
together, so.
I said, I'm happy to, since my
Yes, yes.
communications with any of you are confidential. I'm happy to discuss any questions that I have a couple of thoughts, and that can be done at an appropriate time. And I'm happy to do that.
Oh, yeah.
You know, one-on-one, we don't have to do it right now. I don't think, but just a couple of thoughts that came to mind.
That'd be great, yeah.
Yeah,
We'll reach out.
yeah, absolutely.
That'd be fantastic.
Any more discussion on financial provisions? If not, section 260, Article 3, Fire Department that we spoke about before. We recognize that there's a problem. We're trying to figure out what to do with it. The Central Coventry Fire Board went to the town council on Monday night. Presented some kind of a corrective action plan in case they don't get $3 million from the state, which I don't think is going to happen. You can't ask the state to give you $3 million, but you're going to put $1 million in a slush fund or rainy day, call it rainy day fund.
Escrow fund. I like rainy. Yeah,
It was a rainy day fund. It was,
I think they named it a rainy day fund.
yeah, so you can only spend it when it's raining.
who determines when it's raining?
Then they wanted to put $1 million in for capital improvements. I would assume that would either to build new fire stations or buy new trucks, which is legitimate. And then the other one wasn't explained. I think it was mostly about going back to the 4 platoon system that they could have gone back to
3 years ago.
3 or 4 years ago, 3, 2 or 1 year ago. There was some testimony from the State Association of Firefighters. I actually got up and spoke. And I was, in my angry state as I normally am about this. But I mentioned that they have the tools to fix this and they need to use them. I heard today on the radio that there is some connection between the town council and the fire districts to try to fix this. At the end of that, what they said, it would take 2 years to do it. I'm not gonna wait that long, and we're not gonna wait that long. I also took a look at the Western Coventry Fire Department's meeting that's gonna be coming up on the 25th, which is,
Yeah.
how far are we from the 25th?
Like 2.5
It's
weeks.
2 weeks, almost 2 weeks, just,
Today's the 13th, right?
yeah, today's
So 12
13th,
days.
so.
Yeah, okay. So
Week from Monday.
they're gonna ask for a tax increase rate of 15.78%.
Western.
Westerners or?
Western Coventry. So they have a staff of 2 now. I'm not sure why. I think it's the chief and the captain. The last time we were here, I think Jim Almagno said that Weston had no staff, or actually.
Well, he said
no-
that they had no one on call at that time.
Well, they had no
They had no-
transporting rescue
right.
capacity or whatever, and that's.
Basically, they had central on standby for them at that particular moment. I think
Right.
that's what it
On
was.
automatic.
Yeah, whatever.
Automatic response.
Yeah.
I think that's, yeah.
So here we are with another fire district that's gonna ask people something that they simply aren't gonna wanna do. I mean, this is becoming a worse thing than I thought it was gonna be. I'm not sure if it's tied to the same person that has had her hands in central Coventry, and that's gonna be coming up on the 9th.
And they're asking for like 18%, I believe.
No, it's a
No,
15 point.
15.65.
Not even close to 18.
Oh, shoot.
That's
Yeah, my
central.
limit's 6.
60.
I don't live in central Coventry.
So,
Wow. Big
I
jumps.
do,
I do too.
you know, I think that
And they
the
also-
town council is becoming aware that this
It's a
is
problem in it's a problem.
everywhere,
Well,
or just in
here's-
fire district.
well, the problem is Central, Western are looking at some form of either a major increase or not. Anthony had some issues, what, 2 years ago? There was an
Yeah,
issue with
that
their
When they cut their
finances.
staff in half.
And they were, and their problem came from the same person that was dealing with the central.
All I know is we have 4
Coventry.
districts and 3 of them are facing significant issues in the past 3 to 7 years.
We
That's-
all are now, they all are now,
I haven't heard Hopkins Hill yet, so I'm trying to.
you know.
But yeah, don't laugh, because it's like, just wait for it, because
I really don't think that Hopkins Hill is involved because it's a well-run district and it doesn't have someone attacking it. So, you know, if they turned around and they made one fire district in the town and the same woman that was attacking Central and attacking Anthony, I wouldn't be surprised to see her lobby people or recruit people to attack Hopkins Hill. This needs to end. And it needs to be a municipal department, not a fire district. You want to create another fire board that could be infected with people.
you're just
that-
asking for future trouble.
Bingo. So this is totally on the town council. You know, I think they're open to suggestion. What I heard on the radio today was that even if there was a merge and they created one fire district, it wouldn't happen for 2 years. You can't wait
2 to
years
3, I
on
think
this.
they said.
Yeah, you can't wait 2 years for this. So, you know, we either send it to the voters or something bad happens in the council.
Has to do it immediately.
Has to do it immediately. And they do have that authority. I'm hoping that they exercise that. I told them that the other night. But, you know, I'm still willing to listen to what everybody has to say.
So,
Because if we put it on the ballot, I want to make want to put
Right.
on about, I want the town to.
Right.
Town council to do it with us, not against us, and don't stop a question, when it deals
Right.
with.
Public safety.
Public safety, so, go ahead.
Now, if the town absorbs the fire districts, they absorb all their assets and liabilities, I would assume,
They would absorb
So,
their
the bigger-
budgets
the bigger-
and their assets and their debt.
and Ray, this may be more for you, like, do they get to basically say whatever tax was levied by all the fire districts, can that get added to the town's base going forward? Like, I take the fire districts plus the town's district, put it together, and then that's the new levy for the next year, if that's,
Right.
They would have to have
or would they need to?
they would have to have the state legislature saying it's okay to go over 4% that year to,
Right.
That's
take
basically
into
my question. is, Do they
consideration
have, do they
that
have
they
to
just
still
started-
ask for that, or is it because, if you take the municipal and the fire district, put them together, and then that becomes the new levy, that goes up by no more than 4%, we're still within it, it's just not in pieces.
I think,
just asking,
I
like-
think that's how it would be done,
Right,
because it would.
or would
like-
we need to say?
Because it would
hey,
be similar to the school bond that wasn't put to the voters, where they were gonna have to have the state, go to the state to say, can we do this one time,
Right,
increase more than 4% to accommodate?
The 4%,
that's-
it's specific to a budget increase, right? Not tax increase.
correct, but like right now, the town could increase 4%,
Sure.
and every fire district could increase 4% on their own. I'm just saying, if you, basically, are we stuck on the town side to last year's number, or if we're absorbing the fire districts, can we take their part and add it to it? Do you-
So, I don't know that this is gonna answer your question, but there's a part that says, it's in the same article, section 6. And it talks about the town may contract with said fire districts or with any of them to take over any or all of the assets and to assume any or all of the liabilities. Blah, 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 such as the parties may agree upon. And said several fire districts are authorized to enter into any such contract or contracts with the town of Coventry. So at a quick read of that, could they contract to, they can't tax because if the town takes them over,
They're not a
Just
taxing
working
authority
for us.
anymore.
yeah,
But-
the town would have to pass some sort of an ordinance or get legislative approval
Okay,
to do
the one-time
the one-time
adjustment, okay,
adjustment, and have that. That would all have to be part of the creation of the townwide fire department rules, which would go in either by
Yep.
ordinance or by charter. I would
Okay.
assume. The money has to.
the money has to move
somewhere,
from, yeah,
To your point.
yeah, we can't add the whole fire district to the town and then say you can't fund it because of some technicality, but.
Here's a technicality for you. We can't recommend that the town council make one fire district. We can only recommend that the town council make a town fire department.
Correct,
So.
because the fire districts are
We can't-
separate
we
from the
can't-
town and the
right,
sound,
we can't
yeah.
send a question to the voters that said, do you want to have a fire district? No.
But we can say, do you want to have a municipal,
Correct.
there shall be a municipal fire department. We can send that question.
Yeah. Correct. And I hate to see that, the council forced to do it. I don't see this budget passing in central Coventry. I'm having a hard time thinking that the one in western Coventry will make it pass too. So they're being forced by just an outdated system, I think. I think it's time, and where do we go? If we ask the council to send a question out and they say no, it just, it's gonna make it political again, and I don't want it political. I want it to be, this is, we're responsible for every person in this community and anybody that drives through the community. So it's not just the taxpayer that has to be covered by, fire rescue according to our charter. It's anyone that travels the streets.
So, and this never made sense to me in this town since I've lived here.
Uh-oh.
But unless these districts are all abolished completely, under section 5, they still get the right to levy taxes for lighting street lights, basically, or paying for hydrant rentals, or carrying on any objects other than firefighting authorized by their charters. So it's.
So they,
So we can
Very
make a
comprehensive.
municipal department, but they still have to choose to dissolve themselves.
no, they can still tax for lighting,
Yeah.
which
Okay.
none of them want to do. And they can still tax for hydrant rental, which I think is like the craziest thing in the world. Because
That's
that,
not cheap.
that stuff that goes, I mean, there was a time that they were paying like $480 for hydrant. So
Dogs of the town.
If you have city water.
that is paid to the water authority.
Yeah.
So
The water authority bills for fire hydrants.
here's something, in the past, there was a solicitor in town that said, you know, you build a development and the developer puts in a road and he puts in a water system and he puts in a hydrant. You would think that that's turned over to the town. It's not. You know, the hydrant still belongs to the water authority and still rents it. Or you buy that fire hydrant on a yearly basis. A lot of money. And years ago, when I was in General Assembly, you know, the city of Providence was trying to get rid of having to have to pay for hydrants in their town, but they own the water authority that puts water in the hydrants. It's just bizarre.
I'm kind of walking through this timeline in my head. So $3 million, lots of accounting problems, but it is what it is. They try to get these budget increases. Our sense is people vote no. They reach out to the state, they say no. They can't pay people. I mean, as of like June
June
or
or
something,
whatever.
June.
they can't pay people, they can't function. Unless something happens. In other words, where's the bailout? You know, we as our group, we all agree, we want a ballot question, create a fire department. Something happens in between, we don't know what yet. If somebody wins the lottery and donates it to take care of the fire departments, I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot going on that I'm completely unaware of. But we agree to do the ballot question. People highly likely vote yes, I'm thinking, because we'll have the value statement and why as part of that. And then I would imagine town council takes this up and somebody, maybe with some consulting help, they put together the detailed proposal with legal help, what it takes to do it, right? So there's a lot of work that has to occur. We talked a lot about it right now, but it seems to me it's been done in other places, I'm sure. And there's probably somebody biting at the bit. They get the contract to write the proposal, to work with our legal team, to lay it all out, and then to make it all happen. Probably takes another year to make it all happen, I would imagine. Does that sound about right?
Yes
That's what
and
the
no.
ballot question saying yes
Yes and
does.
no, but
It's just a
because-
trigger.
Because it may not make it to the ballot. It may be that the.
So what happens
council
if we get to the end of June and they're out of money and saying, we're closed?
Town is responsible.
I think what you're asking is.
The council, yeah, I mean, I'm assuming, I'm saying what the council says, yes, but they're gonna look at this hard. We're talking big dollars and handling of moving revenue to the city, all those types of things.
But if there were no dire straits right now, and the districts were all functioning properly, if we still put this to the ballot, that's that probably 1 year timeline, right? Like, which I think that makes
It's
sense.
still gonna take a lot of time. It's
But
not
that's-
gonna happen
To
overnight.
do it, yeah,
But
you
that's
can't, it's
provided.
not.
And all we're really be doing is almost a contingency plan if the town council doesn't come through in the meantime.
Right, there's gotta be something.
Or if CCFD somehow gets some sort of Band-Aid to hold them over
Yeah.
until
Till
the
the
next
next
budget.
quarter, or
Yeah.
at least.
Yeah.
One of the things I thought was interesting is they're talking about the 15.65% interim increase to see them through, yet they're still planning on continuing the 4% increases after that. So now you've got a 15.65 increase and you're gonna get a 4% increase on top of that. It's gonna cost more for the fire districts than it is for the town
Yeah, the
tax.
15 and change is a supplemental.
That's just for this year.
Supplemental,
That's
but-
just for this
Just to get them.
year.
This fiscal year
September?
till October is,
September.
Just a
Uh,
stopgap.
Yeah.
they're not the same
September.
as the town, so.
Yeah, it's in September.
But they're still looking.
It's
for the
designed to fail, so.
Yeah, but they're still looking for the 4%, which they said in the meeting, you know, for the next budget year, and it's, you know.
And they also
this
said-
year had a supplemental on it is that 4% gonna be included in that?
If your grandmother lived in her house in Coventry and there's 15% goes through, her taxes aren't frozen with the fire district.
Right.
They're frozen with the town.
Mhm.
So this is like a multifaceted, crazy problem that needs to be fixed and needs to be fixed immediately. If you get a chance, just watch the council meeting from the other night. You may have or may not have, but I think the representative from the firefighters association said this is just going to be a black hole.
Mhm.
Nobody's required to go there. If you can't reciprocate, why would
Yeah,
anybody go?
it's not that we're not there, so all the other districts will cover us. Well,
We're not there to go anywhere.
we're not there to help you, so
Yeah, we can't do.
it's not, we
reverse.
can't just leave and suddenly everyone else will take care of our problems. You can't, it doesn't work that way.
And they also made the point that if for somehow that 15.65 passes, by the time they print up the bills, send them out and start
Oh,
chasing
it's gonna
people
take
for it,
months. to
it's gonna
collect.
be way past June anyway.
Like, it's not like,
This-
it's not like they
this-
approve
the
it on
vote-
May, whatever day it is.
Ninth,
It's not like a May 9th and everyone shows up with their money on May 10th.
right.
Yeah.
This vote that they're having on May 9th was originally scheduled for in February. And I don't know what the reason was given why they pushed it back.
No, I'm sure they'll get some type of tax anticipation loan in the meantime, but that's
It's going to give them money.
That's
That,
that's the other issue.
They also said they're having a hard time getting stuff like that because of the bankruptcy 8-10 years ago.
imagine.
That was a very interesting way that they paid off the loan though.
Yeah, so.
The truck-
stations.
The truck financer?
Yeah, it's like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
They had the money, they sold the fire stations and deliberately to make sure they could never be used again. In my opinion.
Mhm.
So, the town lost, 3 potential assets to a private sale that never went out to bid. Interesting. Any more comments?
On the Weston proposal, you said that was 15%.
That was-
How much of that is going to manpower?
All right, so-
I think you may have said it.
I'll let you read the bold print in there. So they're going for $1.43 million budget or $1.04 million budget.
Yeah, 1.05. Yeah. 15% increase. I was just
The
curious.
staff is 2 people up there now.
Yeah.
Two of their staff quit. left.
So some simple math. They're adding 150,000, which is a 15% tax increase, which is substantial.
Yeah.
Best case scenario, all of that money went to Manning. They maybe have 2 people.
Right.
So, like I said last week, it's stuff like this that proves why, like District 1, I think has the most to gain from
Yes,
the supply
yes.
element. Hands down, the most.
You know,
They're gonna, even if they get a 60% increase, they're getting no
Can I see that,
substantial
please?
increase in staffing at all, which is ultimately, fire trucks are great, they're beautiful, but you need the people. And they don't have the people to begin with.
This is all stopgap stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, just to get by.
I told the council the other night, as I told you the last time we met, that I hadn't planned on discussing this until the bombshell hit.
Yeah.
And it's here. And I think it's up to everyone who lives in the town to make sure everybody knows what's going on. So years ago, when the problem came about and it was going to go really sour, the town stepped in because they didn't want anybody to know that there is a safety valve, and we've already proved that. We'll see if they use it. We'll see if they do what the radio said today on having meetings with the fire districts. It's yet to be seen. Nobody knows what's going to happen on, what is it?
May 9th.
Well, May 9th is going to
June
be,
30th.
is going to be
Oh,
the
June 30th,
supplemental
yeah, right.
vote. And if
And
if
then
they
what
don't get
happens
the
after
money,
that?
and what happens after that? And 1202 tells the council what they have to do. So that, I think that's why Council President Cody did what he did all those years ago to not allow this to, you know, strain the taxpayers and lose public service. So anymore.
I have a
Right.
follow-up to your question from earlier, because so section 4. Actually, I don't know who wrote it, but I would say it's not.
That's section
Oh,
four,
Section
section
4
four.
of Article 260.
Okay.
I'm sorry. That's from 1948, so it is what it is, but it looks like, and I could be wrong, but it looks to me like that allows somewhat of a pass-through in the event that the town takes the fire department,
Okay.
fire districts over, and they assume for liquidating purposes.
Right.
There can be some taxing done by the districts. That goes with that other thing with contracts with fire districts. So obviously, if the town was going to do this, and I can't speak.
Your gut
Town
feeling says
solicitor,
they
but
should be able
it
to.
should- I think.
Feeling,
so.
I'm not asking for the legal
Not
opinion on
for
that.
the lighting, not for the
Yeah.
hydrants, that's clearly
Okay,
carved out.
but
But there's gotta be a way to do it with
Yeah.
those couple of sections.
thank
Quick
you.
read,
Thank you.
quick read.
Personally, I think when it comes to that, and it comes to taxing authority being lost, you know, if the town had to step in and rescue Central Coventry, they can't tax every other person in the town to do that. And that's why it says that if you fail,
You take them all.
you all fail.
Yeah.
So you can't, why would someone?
You can't have a municipal district that's covering Central's geography, but
And
Hopkins
everybody-
Hill is
and
is still on their own, and
Exactly.
et cetera, et cetera.
Exactly. So, you know, that just adds to the intrigue on why they did this years ago. They obviously planned for it. I have to give credit to Senator Hudson, and I actually said something the other night I missed on, and I said he served on the Board of Canvassers. It was his son that served, Everett Hudson Jr. served on the Board of Canvassers in town for better than 40 years. Loved the job. His dad was a great man, smart man, and it's probably, you know, the one person that had the forethought to make sure that
There was safety.
if something fails, there's a safety valve. Anything else?
One last thing, just speaking of the lighting and the water. I think that's something we have to consider as well. I mean, if the town has to take over the fire service, do we leave these old districts in place to take care of lighting and hydrantals, or do we?
I think
Also,
I
the-
think that
the
you
town
gotta
has to
take
care of
everything that comes with
everything,
it.
yeah. So I
That's just my opinion, so.
And I agree, so I just, maybe just moving forward with a little bit more like specificity that it's fire, lighting and water.
Right.
Because
yeah.
if we're just saying fire, I just don't want us to forget about those other two components because they're.
And you're really gonna start confusing people if you end up getting fire tax bills that are to pay water bills
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fire tax,
And lighting.
street light.
and light.
No.
But no
So-
fire.
So the fire districts actually started out, you know, in the Patuxent Valley by attaching themselves to the lighting districts because they were a taxing authority and the fire departments will volunteer.
Hmm.
So in order to start, you know, in order to build a better budget, in order to provide a better service, they attached themselves to it. So they used to be the Washington Fire and Lighting District. And actually, it started out as the Washington Lighting District,
Yeah.
and they didn't change the name to Washington Fire and Lighting for years. Harris Fire and Lighting, Coyote Fire and Lighting.
Central.
You know, Central wasn't called Central Coventry back then, it was called Hill Farm. Western Coventry, they don't have a lot of lights out there. I don't know who pays for those, but I'm sure it's not run through the fire district, so. It might be run through the state because I think the only lights they have out there are on state roads. But
Still,
in any event, they attach themselves to a taxing authority to build themselves. So you're right when you say that has to be addressed. But hydrants, that has been around longer than lights.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, anything further?
Rich, you want to touch on this?
Yes. that
maybe-
would be nice.
Yeah, On a different subject, I was able to get my hands on the poll results that we had put up on the website. There
Well,
were
this goes back to ballots and
The
Yeah, it
election,
goes-
ballots,
that's fine.
elections.
the 2-year terms and the
Party affiliation.
party affiliation. And there were 77 total votes. And this is through the last votes that were included were from when they put it up through April 1st. No one's put in any responses since April 1st.
Okay.
But out of the 77 responses for the 2-year term question, it was 71.4% in favor, 28.6 and negative of those. For the party affiliations, it was 67.5% in favor, 32.5% not in favor.
I'm sorry, you handed me that, and I should have addressed it when, under our first agenda item, but that's good news. Well, it's not necessarily good news, it's good information.
Yeah.
So,
It'd be nice to have a few more respondents, 77. I mean, it's something.
It's something.
It's something.
It's an indication.
It's an indication, but it would
I
be
mean,
nice.
I don't know if it would be worth, if we want to come up with another question or two to add it to this, and then we can blast it out again.
Yeah, because it just would add. and then
Yeah,
could
we
get
just
more-
added
we
to
could get
another
more
question.
responses.
Yeah, if we want to do
Yeah.
draft up two for other stuff we're working on, we could.
And I'm curious still about why we can't use the code red system, seeing that I got a code red call today saying that this is not an emergency. We're announcing a rabies clinic.
Yeah, I got that last night.
Yeah.
guess we'll
Yes,
have to
yeah, I
talk-
signed up for text.
Guess we'll talk to the manager about
Yeah.
that, because there was another one that, what was the question on that? It was a non-emergent thing. And it just came out and,
Well, they put it on for is it the APRA funds?
oh yeah.
Yeah, they put out one.
Yeah.
Tell us how to spend our money.
Yeah,
Let's put one out, and tell us how to save ourselves. Basically is what's gonna be what we have to do.
I did have a question on these questions. These questions were not the ones that we had proposed.
Those,
They're worded
those
very
questions were something that I sent to the town manager as an email, and he was not supposed to put them on there, and he did.
Okay,
So,
the questions are fairly leading.
Yeah, it was supposed to be as neutral as possible with the. What do you prefer for term length? And then the options were 2 and 4
Yeah,
versus do you
Yeah.
prefer 2 versus 4?
yeah. Should
Because as you
elections be
said,
partisan?
it's kind of leading as to which one we are
That's-
thinking
That's
is
how we
the.
left it, yeah.
Yeah.
We thought we agreed to keep it simple. I mean, the second one looks it's pretty simple.
he
Sure.
put
The first one,
them-
yeah.
That's why I asked that night at the meeting, and it's on tape.
Yeah,
I want to see the questions before they go out.
if it wasn't such a strong response.
And he said, you already voted for him. So
Yeah.
I sent sample questions to him and he posted it. I'm not happy.
If it wasn't such a strong response, I would definitely question the results.
Yeah.
But that's pretty strong, 71 to 28.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it was 60-40, I'd probably want that question asked.
A little bit
Little
more
different,
people, a little bit
exactly.
more vague, because
Neutral,
it was like,
Yeah, agreed.
Anything further? Public comment? Is there anyone that would like to join us and weigh in on our discussion, and if you have any suggestions?
I just hit it. I think
Okay.
that was just me.
That'd be pretty funny.
if you'd like to add anything from, okay,
There's Kent. Okay.
there you go. Ask to unmute.
Yeah, because he's muted.
I think you can unmute all of them at the bottom.
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me? Kent Novak,
Yes.
46 Camp Westwood Road, Green, Rhode Island. And I would add that the annual meeting for the Western Coventry Fire District is this coming Monday, April 18th at 7 o'clock. So the April 25th date is in case of inclement weather. So, the system is broken. Central Coventry, Western Coventry, you know, the charters date back to what, 1941, and a major brush fire that went through the town of Coventry and Lord knows what else, but we're stuck back in the 40s and 50s, and we haven't really moved to the present, in my opinion. And recently, you know, the fiscal issues are one thing. Weston is pretty much solvent financially, but they're not as far as personnel. They have some major problems out there getting people to staff 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And, you know, they no sooner get trained and then they're taken away by other departments. Even within the town has raided some of the Western people, and, you know, you know, you get these young people, you know, they want to go to Cranston, they want to go to Warwick and Providence. So, you know, it's just a problem that's going to keep going on and on. Another issue, in my opinion, that the CAD system of dispatching fire and EMS vehicles and manpower and whatever else has hurt the Weston end. You know, in the past, it was always, you know, oh, well, Weston, you exist because other districts are, you know, doing mutual aid for you and so on and so forth. There's a little bit of truth to that, but not in entirety. And the recent report that just came out, I don't know if it came out today or yesterday from Western, with this CAD system, this past year, as far as fire calls, Weston had a 52% increase in calls. Now, that's not just within the district. They've been helping the eastern end also. And with only 2 people on duty, when they help the eastern end, the western end is left with no one. And they are not volunteers either. They're all paid for their services out there. And the same thing with the EMS calls. They had a 32% increase in rescue calls. That's a lot. Totally, they went from 577 calls to 798. So I'm in favor myself of heading towards that townwide fire department. It's long overdue. However that happens, I don't know all the ins and outs of that, but if there was something on the referendum, you know, yay or nay, I would be yay in favor of the town doing what they should have done probably years ago. So thank you. I don't know if anybody has any questions of me, but.
I do. When you talk about staffing up there, Ken, are you talking about per diem or people that work like a fixed shift? And how many people are there on duty at any given time?
Well, on duty at any given time, ideally is 2 people. And ideally, one would be a cardiac and the other would be a basic, and they would both be firefighters. So there's 2 people on duty. And as far as full-time personnel, they have a chief, they have a captain, they have 2 full-time firefighter EMS personnel, and they both resigned recently.
Do you know why?
Well, I believe it was probably money for one reason. That's part of the reason why the district's budget is going up so much. They're trying to, you know, pay the firefighters and EMS people more money. But, you know, as we stand today, the best of my knowledge, you have the chief and you have a captain, and those 2 full-time slots are vacant. And there is a provision in this budget, I believe, to add a 5th full-time person halfway through the budget year, you know, just to curtail the cost of that. The rest of the time is filled by other members of the department. They're detailed to work a shift, and they get paid according to their, whether they're a B or a C and a firefighter 1 or firefighter 2. And up until recently, I can cite one case, a firefighter 2 who has the EMS or EMTB classification. They were earning $13.78 an hour. So that just, I see somebody smiling there in the blue shirt, and I don't think that's very good.
I agree with
That's
you.
that's
Yeah.
minimum wage.
Yeah.
Right.
That's-
That's why they can't retain talent.
Yeah.
Well,
So Ken-
yes.
Sad.
Kent, the two firefighters that left, did they go through the municipal fire academy, or is it, do they predate the academy? Because it seems like there's no more volunteerism in the state, so it's most hires for fire districts, fire departments, municipal. However, these people have to go there, be trained, no different than I think like the police academy, because it's not what it used to be. It's not, driving a fire truck and squirting water. It's more
Right.
complex.
Right. Yeah, I believe the two gentlemen that left the positions probably predated the fire academy. Would be my guess.
Okay, so did your fire district train these people, and then they left for greener pastures to find a better place to go?
Yeah, well, I mean, however, you get these younger members that come in, they have minimum qualifications, and the district will foot the bill for, the EMS or the EMT basic training and the cardiac training. So, I'm not aware of how they get that. Probably at a number of places, as far as EMS is concerned, like, I don't know if high and low end would hold a basic course, and then I'm not sure where they would get the cardiac training today.
So the district is paying to train someone to retain them, but they're not paying them for the, what I would call a legitimate wage, and they're heading out to other departments.
Yeah, that's pretty much the case. I mean, they're trying to rectify the pay issue with this budget. I'm not aware of how much of an hourly increase there is for the detail people and so on, but it's going to be a recurring problem. They're going to come back to the well again next year for more money. And money, I don't believe, is the only issue either. I think there's, a scarcity of qualified people, and you only have X number of people in the state of Rhode Island, and the ones that kind of pay more are the ones that end up with more people. So one of the
Going to
fire,
your district.
what's that?
Going to your district, right? So.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I say, there's no volunteers out there now. I mean, if somebody attends training or whatever it is, they get paid by the hour. So there's a lot of per diem shifts available out that way, and they're not filling 100% of the need. The department was able to provide ALS coverage 87.7% of the time throughout the fiscal year. So what about the 12.3%? Mutual aid if it's needed. If you have a cardiac event you get a cardiac event out our way anyway, you get mutual aid from Central Coventry automatically almost. So, and then let's see. In February, just a couple of months ago, we only provided ALS coverage 74% of the time. And that's a direct reflection of those two firefighters leaving I believe it was the January or early February timeframe. one of them left to drive a roll-off type truck, you know, for dumpsters and things like that. I mean, the guy was a cardiac firefighter too, and he's making $26 an hour driving I'm gonna call it a garbage truck somewhere, instead of staying on as a firefighter out here.
Wow.
So, that's it.
Thanks.
We have issues.
Thank you, Ken. It kind of gives everybody in the eastern end of town a little perspective on, you know, the differences and how things go. And when you were talking about, you know, cardiac response, even in the eastern end, they send 2 engines and 2 rescues because the state changed the protocol where you have to run a code for 30 minutes on the scene before you put them in a truck and take them to the hospital. So, you know, it's becoming more complex. I guess they just, you know, the health department decided that was, you know, a prudent way of doing things instead of putting them in the truck, drugging them up and driving. So they're trying to preserve life on the scene and sustaining something before they transport. And that's just a health department change.
It's
So
also increasing the skill level necessary because they're increasing the number of drugs that they're putting on those trucks.
exactly.
Right, and that
Not getting
that
any
has
easier.
adversely, you know, affected something like Western Coventry out our end to do the 30 minutes of continuous CPR. You know, you need a little more than the 2 guys that are responding from out our end. So, and at times on duty, you might just have the 2 firefighters or EMS personnel might only be basics. You don't have your cardiac and basic on necessarily. That's the goal, but it doesn't happen all the time. So heaven forbid that it's you at 2:30 in the morning and there's only a basic on duty at the station. Not a good scene.
Thank you, Ken.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Would anybody else like to comment? Okay, again. I'm not seeing any more hands up. Right.
Somebody's just connected to Laurel.
yeah.
The last person.
I think his audio just cut out.
Is that a John? Are you trying to log in?
John, if you're able to raise your hand, I can unmute you from this end.
Okay, so we can't get John in. Maybe we'll
Well-
get him.
It looked like his computer just cut out from audio. I don't think it was. If anyone else wants to comment, please raise your hand.
Okay,
Your computer hand.
so.
Yeah.
So as always in public comment, you're public. If you would like to add any more to our conversations, go ahead. If not, I'll enter a motion to adjourn.
So
Motion-
moved.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you for everyone for participating.